All right, y'all, holy smokes. We have a deep dive video today into the Cybertruck explosion that happened in Las Vegas in front of Trump Tower. The gentleman has been identified. A alleged manifesto has come out from this gentleman potentially, and it implicates UAP and drones and China, and there's all kinds of things. So we're going to be diving deep into exactly what happened. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the actual explosion itself. I've got three different camera angles showing the actual explosion, and then a couple different angles showing the aftermath, just to kind of give us a little base here, foundation of exactly the event that we're talking about.
Copy. I just heard a boom.
Oh my God. I heard that boom too, but I didn't know it was actually outside. I thought it was a person in the hallway.
All right, so as you can see from these pictures here, this Cybertruck parked in front of Trump Tower. You can see the aftermath of the damage. Some fireworks and like fuel canisters were put in the back and exploded, and apparently could have been a lot worse. This is the guy here, his ID, that survived this explosion. And apparently he had shot himself in the head while he exploded this thing. So he was sitting in the Cybertruck when this happened. Now, here is part of his manifesto that we're going to get into here in just a moment, that allegedly came from him, that was sent and explains some things potentially of why he did what he did. Now, again, this is all alleged at this point. It cannot be confirmed 100%. But before we get into that manifesto, let's just get some details surrounding who this gentleman is.
Major developments in the investigation into the man behind the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas. Late today, police saying the driver left behind notes on his phone detailing his actions and clues to a possible motive. Newly released surveillance video shows Army Green Beret Matthew Livelsberger at a Tesla charging station during his trip to Las Vegas. That chilling video of his final destination, the Trump Hotel. Authorities say Livelsberger died by suicide just before that blast. And they say in the notes he left behind, he railed against the United States, but he held no animosity toward the president-elect. And he wrote, quote, "This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call." ABC's Mola Lenghi leads us off in Las Vegas again tonight.
Tonight, authorities saying the highly decorated Green Beret suspected of using explosives to blow up that Cybertruck outside of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas left behind notes found on his cell phone, providing clues to a possible motive.
And in there, you can read a couple of the excerpts. "We are the United States of America, the best country, people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took."
Officials confirming that 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger died by suicide just before the explosion. Master Sergeant Livelsberger was on approved leave from his base in Germany. A senior U.S. official telling ABC News there had been no red flags. Authorities releasing these new surveillance images showing him at a Tesla charging station as he made his way from Colorado to New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada. That Cybertruck rented via the app Turo. Livelsberger pulling into the hotel valet at 7:35 a.m. Wednesday before pulling out, returning an hour later. And then, 17 seconds later, the explosion. 7 bystanders injured. Sources say Livelsberger was divorced and had recently remarried, his wife reportedly telling authorities he'd been out of the house in Colorado Springs since Christmas following a dispute over infidelity. And while investigators say they found those notes railing against the condition of the United States, they say the soldier held no animosity towards President-elect Trump.
We've found that the subject held no animosity towards the president-elect. The Army indicates that he likely suffered from PTSD, and we are also aware that there were potential other family issues or personal grievances in his own life that may have been contributing factors.
Investigators scouring the suspect's background. FBI and local police searching this townhome in Colorado Springs. Neighbors stunned.
He seemed normal. His wife is very nice. They just had a baby.
Well, Mary, late today, the sheriff here in Las Vegas saying they are aware of a podcast claiming to have a letter from Matthew Livelsberger mentioning recent drone sightings in the Northeast and claiming that he was being followed by federal investigators. Now, authorities say they're not 100% certain it came from him, but they do believe it did. Mary?
Mola Langi with the disturbing new details tonight. Mola, thank you.
All right, and here's another news segment to give us a little more, again, background on exactly who Matthew was, why he may have done what he's done. And I'm sure there'll be more information to come out as time goes on. But as of right now, this is kind of where we're at.
All right, we have new details this morning about the man behind the Cybertruck explosion outside of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Police say he was an Army veteran who took his own life before his rented vehicle exploded. CBS News correspondent Adam Yamaguchi has been following the latest from Colorado Springs, where investigators have been searching his home. Adam, what are we learning?
That's right. Investigators were here at his home up until yesterday or so. It's not entirely clear what they may have recovered or learned about the suspect. What we do know, again, was that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head just seconds before his vehicle, that rented Tesla Cybertruck, had exploded in front of the valet area of that hotel, all of which took about 17 or so seconds. Also, what we're also learning about his background, he was a very decorated Green Beret, served in the military for 19 years, received 5 Bronze Stars. And so all of this just creates so much surprise and mystery about who this man was and why he did what he did.
Adam, what do we know about what investigators found inside the vehicle?
So they were able to recover a few personal effects, his military ID passport, a phone, smartwatch, as well as 2 handguns that he had just recently purchased legally, one of which he used to kill himself. What they also found in the vehicle were firework mortars, as well as a gas canister and camp fuel. Again, all of this was very surprising to investigators, as well as to some of his folks that he served time with, given the fact that he was a Green Beret. These operators are specialists in guerrilla warfare tactics, so there was a lot of surprise as to just how crude these devices were.
Adam, what are people in that neighborhood saying about the suspect?
So the neighbors here didn't really seem to know him very well. One neighbor who spoke out to the press said that he seemed friendly. She would sometimes see him out on the street and exchange hellos, but there was really wasn't that much familiarity with him.
All right, Adam Yamaguchi, thank you so much for your reporting. We appreciate it.
All right, now I have one more press conference news clip that I want to share, just again, for more background into this gentleman before we get into some of the odd things about it that have been pointed out, and this alleged manifesto.
Please keep in mind, this is a very extensive investigation, so there's a lot of content for us to review and examine. We're just showing examples and samples as we get them. There's more information as we go through it. But in this video, you can see even the distinctive jacket that he is wearing in that vehicle. The other thing that's important is the sheriff mentioned yesterday that Tesla sent to us engineers to come to Las Vegas to help us extract data from the vehicle. Thanks to their support, we were able to extract an SDMI chip from the Tesla vehicle, and Tesla was able to confirm to us using the data from the vehicle that the vehicle was not in full self-driving mode at any time during this incident. Finally, the last category just to touch on is motive, which I know everyone is very eager to try to understand and be able to explain what happened. I'll reiterate what the sheriff said is we still have a large volume of data to go through and a lot of content to go through As you know, with any one of our devices, there's thousands, if not millions, of videos and photos and documents and web history and all of those things that need to be analyzed. But with that, just as a preview for as we get information, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. There were a couple pieces of content we thought were important to share for now. One is in the note application. He seemed to have two letters. One letter in particular, as you can see here, this is an excerpt from that letter. He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. He goes on to explain a variety of other grievances and issues, some political, some personal, a variety of other things, which we will do our best to release very quickly here. But then there's a second letter where there's some more excerpts. This one seems to be dated after the fact in that notes application. And in there, you can read a couple of the excerpts. We are the United States of America, the best country, people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took. I'd like to just also expand on that and understand that these are just excerpts in there. He does offer additional information that is varying on the spectrum in terms of political grievances, issues about the conflicts elsewhere, not here, domestic issues, societal issues, a variety of other things, including personal challenges as well. We are intending to release those initial letters so people can understand the best they can what the person's thought process was at one point in time. However, please understand there is still a lot more content to go through, and that may change. There may be a lot more information that we recover that explains either more or shows a change in mindset at different times.
Now, let's start getting into some of the interesting things about this story. As this has come out, and apparently this gentleman was part of some, History Channel reality show with other former Green Berets, which is kind of interesting, right? So take a look at this clip from Inside Edition.
It's a reality show that pits teams of elite soldiers from around the world against each other.
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces, better known as the Green Berets.
Matthew Livelsberger and his partner Tim Kennedy, both Green Berets, appeared on the Ultimate Soldier Challenge 12 years ago on the History Channel.
While the other guys are still setting up, the Americans take their first shot at the sniper on the top of the tower.
They not only won, it wasn't even close.
For television, they always try to make it a little bit more competitive, but we swept the whole entire show.
When he appeared on the show, Livelsberger used a shortened version of his name, Matt Berg, so it took Tim Kennedy a while to put two and two together.
It took about 12 hours of me seeing some photos as more photos started coming out of who he was, and then I saw a Matt Berg with a older photo of him, and I was like, oh no, dude, I know that guy. And then it just tore my heart out because he was a really great Green Beret.
And what was he like?
He was charming. He was talented. He was personable. He was kind. He was all the things that you would expect from a Green Beret.
At one point during the show, Livelsberger had to stop taping in the 90-plus degree heat. He was suffering from heat exhaustion.
I'm about to throw up, man. I got heat exhaustion, man. I need to take this off right now.
Tim Kennedy says he hadn't heard from Livelsberger for a few years.
It just categorically does not make sense. From everything that I have heard, he was universally valued by his team, by his peers. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense, and it is just horrifically heartbreaking.
All right, so let's point out one more thing that's kind of interesting about this gentleman. I'm going to show you a clip of this gentleman at a Tesla charging station that's been found right before the attack happened, and see if you can notice what I and many others noticed about this video. Pay attention closely. right, did you notice it? The guy is cleaning the dirt out of this thing. Who cares? You're about to go do something, honestly, I don't know the right word to use, right? Not good, right? And you're worried about the dirt? I agree. This is weird, okay? This is weird. It's almost like, did the guy know he was going to do that, right? But, I mean, he rented this Cybertruck, right, on a app called Turo, which, honestly, I used that app when I went to New Orleans to rent a car, right? People use it all the time, so it's not some big deal like, oh, he's using Turo. Well, that's like saying someone ordered food from Uber Eats. Like, it happens. But he's very calm and cleaning the dirt out. I mean, it's just kind of a weird thing. Maybe it's just something, maybe it's innocuous, maybe it's nothing. But I don't know, just pointing out all the things that are interesting, right, about the story. Now, let's get into this manifesto a little bit, this alleged manifesto, and then we'll kind of break down different parts of the manifesto that are also interesting, right? And, you know, I don't even know where to begin with this story. There's so much information going out and misinformation, disinformation. It's hard to keep it all together. So I'm hoping this deep dive here today will help you kind of better understand what's going on. I put links to everything I'm showing you today down below. So you can go research yourself, verify all this stuff, look into it yourself, because there's a lot out there, right? And especially this manifesto. Is it real? Did this manifesto that is being shared, did this actually come from the guy, right? Because that is what cannot be verified. So it makes it hard to then look at the manifesto and take what's in it seriously. First, we need to verify it actually came from this guy, right? But first, let's go over this manifesto, which dropped on Sean Ryan's show, right? This guy named Sam Shoemate, okay, goes on Sean Ryan's show and shares that he was sent this manifesto. Now, to be fair, he also states that potentially this manifesto was sent to other people, and he's telling other people, check your inbox, maybe you have something from him too, and he had sent it out, right? But he had specifically said that he wanted this to get to Sean Ryan, right? So I've got a few different clips from Sean Ryan's show. Again, full link in the description. Go check out the full thing. There's a lot more in there that I'm not going to show you today. But I've separated a few different clips to kind of give us just more context, right, about this manifesto, this alleged manifesto that implicates, you know, UAPs, UFOs, y'all aliens, right? What? How does this all end? The drone situation? I mean, it's kind of it's like a nice bow, right, brought in. It's like, okay, of course it's all connected to this, but is this for real? Is this just misinformation, right? So let's hear a little bit more from Sam and Sean on their show. Here's the first clip.
We can't give it 100% credibility. Right. I think you would agree with that as an intelligence analyst.
100%.
And then additionally, there are a few names, two, I believe, that we are redacting from this because they are still operational. And as much as I would love to release those names, we're not gonna do it so that those guys can remain undercover and not burn their entire operation of what they're into right now. And there was one more thing. I want to give a little background on you. Retired from the Army in 2023 as a CW2 intelligence officer and understand the information war. In 2020, you were still on active duty. You started a social media account where you intended to share memes and GIFs. Despite your intentions, the account grew into what it is today. You've developed, what is the account's name?
It's an Instagram account, goes by Terminal CWO.
Terminal CWO. You've developed a robust network of service members across the Department of Defense who trust you with their reports of unethical and in some cases illegal behavior from their leaders. You expose the unethical and illegal behavior while protecting whistleblowers in order to hold military leaders accountable, which is why you received the email from the Green Beret. And because of your background, you come across wild information all the time. You're here today because of an email you received from Matthew Livelsberger, a couple of days before the Cybertruck bombing at Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. You'll also be able to discuss what you know about the terrorists who conducted the New Orleans attack. Did I miss anything?
No, that sums it up. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll give a background on why that's significant so your viewers understand how this came into my inbox.
Perfect. One other thing that I just wanted to say to the audience is, even though we are redacting these names from the episode, you passed that, I believe you passed that email on to the FBI.
Yes.
We're also going to pass it on to our contacts at the FBI.
So again, if you want to go check out the full interview, there's way more here that I'm not going to show, but that gives us a little better understanding of kind of how he came across this thing, who this guy Sam is. Is he legitimate, right, that's bringing this forward? Because more on him in this manifesto a little bit later in the video. I just want to show all sides, right? But let's get back to this interview with Sam and Sean. Here's the second clip from their interview.
Well, I kept seeing this comment on recent posts that I put in there, and it was from this burner account that said, hey, check your DMs, check your DMs, check your DMs. So I go in there and try to find it. There's no message from this guy, hadn't come through or whatever. And then he messages again once that message was opened up. And I said, hey, your previous messages haven't come through. What do you want to tell me? And he said, what I'm going to send you, now these are literally his words, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. That was his phrase, change the course of humanity. Okay, a little bit dramatic. I get these messages all the time. People have this big story they want to tell. They want to expose their command, whatever. I take everything with a grain of salt until I have evidence and proof. So this guy is insistent. He tells me that he is a 18 Zulu who I've spoken to before, and he really needs to get this stuff to me. And then he talks about you. He says, I need you to get me in contact with Sean Ryan. I'm like, dude, I don't know Sean Ryan. I'm not that big, but he's insistent that I get him diverted to media sources, says go to Fox News, whatever else. And I said, all right, tell me what you got. So I give him my Proton email account, give him my signal number, and he reaches out immediately. And I'm going to read this initial message for you because this doesn't have names or anything else on it, but this was his message on Sunday. He reached out and said, like I said, this last Sunday, he said, sending with a VPN active on Wi-Fi only. Do not message me. I will send out updates via both Signal and email, but trust me, you're going to want to be involved. Well, first of all, no, I didn't want to be involved. Anyways, and then, so I didn't message. I responded back to his original Instagram message, and I said, hey, I got your message on Proton Mail, and he said, cool, delete this. So I deleted it. That's how I ended up getting this message on Tuesday. So the message that this right here, this manifesto, if you want to call it that, came in on Tuesday. And when I started reading this, my initial take was, okay, this is off the deep end. It's bonkers. I can't validate or verify any of the stuff in this manifesto. Mm-hmm. And I told him that in a subsequent email. And I'll read that to you later, my response to him. And once again, my response to him elicited, hey, get me in contact with Sean Ryan, Fox News, and he even said Pete Hegseth. Get me in contact with Hegseth. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the incoming Secretary of Defense's phone number. Sorry, bro. That's the last time I talked to him. So yesterday morning.
What date was that?
That was Tuesday. That was this Tuesday. So we're Friday now. That was 3 days ago.
So
the day before.
30th?
Yeah, the day before the attack.
All right, so this is the moment you've been waiting for. If you haven't already read this manifesto, again, there's links in the description. Go read it for yourself. But let's get to this manifesto being read out by Sam, right, to Sean. And then, again, we'll kind of break down some of the red flags of this manifesto and just the story in general, right? Pay attention. Here we go.
So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the U.S. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPCEN, that's Operations Center, our OPCEN location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comms system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive VBID. Let me pause right there for a second. So he says a massive VBID. When I was talking to the FBI yesterday, they didn't know what a VBID was. I had to explain what that acronym meant, literally.
You fucking serious?
Dead serious. I said it twice and he goes, you said that word VBID. Can you tell me what that is? For your audience, a VBID, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a VBID is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. In layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So, backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive VBID. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Here's where he gets into the other stuff, and this is where we had to redact the names. Well, your producer redacted the names. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with redacted IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion 10th Special Forces Group. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access.
What is USAP? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. But I checked his credentials on LinkedIn. So that was the first thing I did. I went to his LinkedIn page. First thing I noticed was all of his bona fides were in place. He has all the UAS training from USASOC and everything else. And so I said, okay, at least the guy knows what he's talking about with drones. That was a very rough dig into the guy. But my issue was I couldn't validate or verify any of this information. And I told him that.
All right. So, again, this is interesting for sure. Now, let's break down that kind of, we'll get to that last part at the end where they show like some coordinates and stuff. More on that in a second, because that is quite fascinating when you find out what exactly that is and where that is. All right. But first, here's a comment from, officials commenting on this manifesto and its potential legitimacy. Take a listen.
Yeah, so in terms of the so-called manifesto that's circulating online, we have strong evidence to suggest that it was the subject that wrote it, but we haven't conclusively proven that yet. And that evidence relates to other evidence that we're finding that we're able to compare that lead us to believe it was in fact him who sent it.
All right, so that's interesting, right? I still think it's, not definitive, right? And truth is, I don't know if we'll ever know, right? But regardless, let's get a different viewpoint from a video that's being shared all over as well, kind of, combating the legitimacy of this email. In fact, this next person I'm about to show you is even alleging that this person, Sam, who was on Sean's show, wrote the email himself, right? And it's just fake, this whole thing. That's quite an allegation. And again, I'm not saying that is what's happening. I just want to show all the sides and what's out there. You can decide for yourself. This is one of those very important moments where you are going to have to decide for yourself. Don't let someone tell you what's going on. Please decide for yourself. You might have to do your own research on this one. I realize time is of the essence, but if you have time, do a little digging yourself and kind of piece some pieces together. Hopefully this video can give you some ideas and some starting points, right, with all the links that I provided and the clips that I've shown today. But this is one of those moments. You're going to have to decide for yourself on this. So let me play the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
This guy, Sam Shoemate, went on the Sean Ryan podcast, one of, if not the biggest, one of the biggest podcasts in America. And he claimed he got an email from this particular gentleman who blew up the Cybertruck. And as of me writing this at 7 a.m. on January 4th, 2025, this Sean Ryan video is seen about 2 million times on YouTube alone. Now, Sam Shoemate claims that Matthew Leibelsberger wrote him an email, which he then reads on screen. And here's the funny part about this email. You see these squiggly lines? These are spell check indicators. This means that whatever was on screen was in draft and in edit mode. Now, Sam Shoemaker has made up emails before, so to take a screenshot of something that's in edit mode, well, let's just say in the intelligence community, this is what we call a clue. So then the Las Vegas police released this manifesto. And you can read it for free at ryanbeth.substack.com. This manifesto is more of a rant about greed and processed food and Ukraine. But the style of the manifesto that was released by the Las Vegas police is totally different from the email that Sam claims to have received. So what can you take away from all this? Well, I can tell you this. When you are one of America's top podcasters, it would behoove you to tell the truth. You kind of have an obligation to at least try to get the story right. I mean, it's sloppy, and it's sad to choose clicks over truth. And here we are. And look, Sam Shoemate has a history of playing fast and loose with the truth, whether it's fabricating emails or promoting Russian narratives that we can trust and undermine American institutions. And he has a right to do it, dude. I mean, even lying is protected speech. But guess what, bub? I got free speech too. And with my free speech, I'm calling Sam Shoemate a liar. And I'm calling Sean Ryan an enabler of disinformation.
Now, I will have to admit, the squiggly lines and all that, implicating it's in edit mode and things like that. I mean, maybe, but it could also just be copy and pasted, right? You got it, the message, you're putting it in something else. I don't know, you're trying to forward it to someone else to get their opinion on it. I don't know. It's hard to tell from that, but I guess it's interesting. Again, just trying to take in all the information, all the sides, all the different criticisms, and see what makes sense and what doesn't, because there's so much unknown, right? And there's a barrier to the information from officials while this is an ongoing investigation, right? And then you get the internet involved, and they start, sleuthing all over the place and trying to figure this out and sharing stuff and their opinions and this and that. There's a lot out there about this, and this manifesto has definitely thrown a wrench in things, right? Because now, if we knew it was from him, that would be one thing, right? Because then you're diving into the words themselves, but you can't even really dive into the words of this manifesto without first verifying that it is from this person, right? That's the problem, and that's the problem with a lot of these things. And the implications of UFOs and aliens in this. Because like I said, if you remember earlier, they showed some coordinates, a little screenshot, right? Well, guess where that's from? Here's a tweet that Jesse Michaels put out on Twitter. It says, breaking, the coordinates mentioned by the Tesla bomber as our operations center for gravitic propulsion is at Groom Lake. That's Area 51 for anyone not aware. So we've got this, admission of gravitic propulsion, right? And Area 51 being called out. I admit, this is strange. Very strange. If this is from that person, right? Now, again, clearly this person was mentally unstable, so just because they put this out doesn't mean that it's true, right? That's also the problem. And then you have people arguing, well, he was trying to uncover all this stuff, so that's why he put it out and, whatever. I don't know. And then people are saying, oh, he shot himself in the back of the head twice. There's no confirmation of that, right? So there's just a lot of lies being spread about this, right? Now, granted, I get that it's weird that, he shoots himself and detonates this thing at the same time. But I don't know. He's former Green Beret, clearly highly skilled, highly trained. So I don't know. There are just a lot of red flags with this. But if someone's mentally ill, they're not going to do things you think are normal, right? And clearly someone going to this step is a little mentally unstable. Now, I guess it could be proven that, he was messed with, right? He was being followed. Someone set him up. I don't know, right? At the end of the day, it's like more stuff gets thrown out to just muddy the waters of what exactly is going on, right? Because if we knew the truth, would that just open our eyes to something? It's hard to tell what we're trying to be hidden from, right? What truth exactly? And I admit there's just a lot of strange things, about this story. Not just the fact that, he's calling out Area 51 and gravitic propulsion, and he had some secret clearance, with UAPs and the drones, and China potentially coming in to attack us, right, using subs. And that's what all these drones are, coming out of submarines off the coast. And there's just a lot to this story, right? You even have people like Michael Shermer, who is a self-proclaimed, full skeptic, even jumping in on this and saying how strange it is. He wrote, while I'm posting like a crazed conspiracist, before I regain my rationality, let me wonder how it is that the Cybertruck driver's body was burned beyond recognition inside a vehicle that contained the blast so well that no one else died and the hotel glass doors didn't break, but his ID and phone with explanatory letters were fully recoverable, just lightly singed. Alrighty then, right? Because again, there are some things that just don't add up here, right? Apparently his body had to be identified by his tattoos, right, and DNA, but then his ID survives here and his phone and all that stuff. I don't know. I guess it just depends where these things were when this happened, right? I don't know. You'd have to track the blast. Someone's going to have to recreate how that blast happened inside the Cybertruck. Might get more details there. But again, everybody's pointing out red flags, right? And if we're going to be fair, there's even red flags on both sides, right? And what I mean is on this alleged manifesto, right? Let's take a look at this tweet that was put out as well, that pointed out some things that I found interesting. And they write, this is the single most important piece of information in the Vegas bombing. We cannot trust any of the information contained in the emails or messages from Matt Livelsberger after December 29th when his Signal safety number was changed. For those of you unfamiliar with Signal, it is a peer-to-peer encrypted messaging app that assigns you a unique safety number based off your phone and SIM card. It only changes if your Signal account is loaded onto a new phone or SIM. It automatically lets everyone in conversations with you know if your safety number has changed. Matt's changed on the 29th. All information sent by Matt after the 29th must be treated as misinformation. The emails to Sean and Sam were sent on the 31st. Why hasn't this been addressed? And then there's some, clips there, or images showing that that's exactly what happened. And I agree, that's a red flag, right? I don't know if this manifesto actually came from Matt, but what I do know is he's no longer with us, and that explosion happened. And someone doing something like that clearly something's going on up there. Is there a bigger story? Is there a bigger conspiracy? Well, a lot of people say yes, right? Some people say no. It's going to be for you to decide, right? I see some people saying, oh, is this the next whistleblower, this and that, whatever. No. Okay, he's not. And people are definitely going to jump on this and try to find things that aren't there, right? That's the first thing that people in the UFO community do, is just try to find things that aren't there, right? And again, I think taking all the information is important, and waiting till we hear everything about this before we make a definitive decision, right? Was this guy part of some secret UAP program, and wanted this information out about the drones and everything in Area 51? I don't even know, right? For me personally, until I know that this is confirmed from this gentleman, I don't take anything in it seriously, right? Because otherwise, I'm just jumping the gun. I'm jumping ahead without first confirming the most important part, which is, did it come from him? Once that's established, then we can start to dive into what's in the actual email, right? Because there was a lot of other red flags that you can find on your own, right? Looking through, there's so much more to the story. Again, links in the description. Go check it out for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.